Imagine waking up every day, fearful of expressing your faith, living in a country where more than 90% of the population practices a different religion. This is the reality for Christians in the Gambia. In this West African nation where the sun kisses the Atlantic Ocean, a silent battle is taking place. A battle not fought with guns and bombs, but with beliefs, faith, and the human spirit. Christians, a minority in the country, find themselves the target of persecution, their faith met with suspicion and hostility. Let's take a moment to look at the numbers. The Gambia, a sliver of land nestled inside Senegal, is home to over 2 million people. Of these, more than 90% are Muslim, while a mere 8 to 10% are Christians. This stark disparity underscores the isolation Christians feel in their everyday lives, their faith placing them in a minority. The Gambia prides itself as a nation of religious tolerance. However, the reality on the ground paints a different picture. While the Constitution guarantees religious freedom, Christians often find themselves on the receiving end of societal prejudice and discrimination, their rights overshadowed by the overwhelming Muslim majority. These Christians increasingly live in a constant state of vigilance, their faith a beacon that simultaneously illuminates and isolates them. They gather in small congregations, their prayers a whisper against the cacophony of the majority's faith. Their churches, modest structures of faith, stand as symbols of resilience in the face of adversity. This is a story not of numbers and percentages, but of individuals, families, and communities. It's a story of resilience and faith, of holding on to one's beliefs amidst adversity, prejudices partly enabled by government policy. It's a story that needs to be told, a story of an unseen persecution simmering beneath the surface of a peaceful coexistence, mainly holding because of the Christian minority's reticence to complain or make a fuss. For Christians in the Gambia, every day is a test of faith and resilience. The persecution of Christians in the Gambia often goes unnoticed due to limited instances of violence or lack of media coverage of instances of discrimination. Yet, persecution can take on many forms, some of which are not as visible, but are no less damaging. Imagine being treated less favorably by public bodies simply because of your faith. This is a reality for many Gambian Christians. Exclusion, a subtle yet potent form of persecution, often goes unreported. It's a silent form of discrimination that slowly chips away at one's sense of belonging, creating a divide that's hard to bridge. Then there's the economic disadvantage. Employment opportunities can be scarce for Christians in a society where religious bias can influence hiring and promotion decisions. They also face challenges in accessing rented housing and elected office for similar reasons, fueled by an increasing intolerance driven by those on the fringes who are frighteningly gaining a foothold within circles of once-upon-a-time polite Gambian society. Legal restrictions are another form of persecution Christians in the Gambia may soon have to grapple with. If the current trend continues, significant political and legal changes towards Sharia are a likely possibility. While the restrictions may not be explicitly anti-Christian, their implementation will undoubtedly disproportionately affect the Christian community. These laws can limit the freedom to practice religion openly, stifle religious expression, and even restrict the construction of places of worship. Quantifying these forms of persecution isn't easy. They don't make for sensational news stories, they don't come with shocking images or dramatic footage, but they are real, and they are pervasive. The lack of global awareness about these subtle forms of persecution is part of the problem. The world often turns a blind eye, simply because it's easier to ignore what you can't see. But let's remember, the struggle of Gambian Christians, while not making headlines, is a silent battle fought every day. It's a battle for acceptance, for equality, for the right to practice their faith without fear. It's a struggle that deserves our attention, our empathy, and our action. Behind every statistic, there is a human story. Let's delve into some personal experiences of Christians living in the Gambia. Consider the story of a community in Babylon Village, about 20 kilometers from the capital Banjul. Christians in this community are denied the construction of a church, with the village head offering them the alternative of converting to Islam. Despite this making the news, the story was largely ignored by the Gambia government. Then there is the Christian community in Tanana village in the West Coast region, whose village cemetery was forcefully and arbitrarily expropriated by an influential member of that region who lays unfounded claims to it. Again, although making the news, the attack on this powerless community was ignored by the Gambia government. And let's not forget the young Christians at University of the Gambia who aspire to become lawyers. These are compelled to do Islamic law, which the government makes a compulsory module. There's also the issue involving the Constitutional Review Commission, which was charged with the responsibility of drafting a new constitution for the Gambia. This commission sidelined Christians, proposed to introduce Sharia law, and arbitrarily dismissed the genuine concerns expressed by the Christian minority. Despite these, Christians in the Gambia continue to advocate for religious tolerance and education for all, undeterred by the discrimination they face every day. Each of these stories affect different sections of the Christian community, but those affected share a common thread: the courage to stand up for their faith in the face of adversity. They are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of conviction. These accounts represent only a fraction of the many untold stories of Christians living in the Gambia. They are not just victims of persecution, but also symbols of resistance, dignity, and strength. Their struggles are not in vain. They pave the way for future generations to live in a society where religious freedom is respected and cherished. These stories of perseverance and courage shed light on the hidden struggles of Gambian Christians, who, although constituting 10% of the population, have no representation in the Gambia's parliament, the National Assembly. To the dismay of many, President Adama Barrow overlooked their lack of representation. When it came to selecting the 5 National Assembly members the Constitution permits him to nominate, in addition to the 53 elected members. Awareness is the first step towards change. The plight of Christians in the Gambia calls for global attention and action. We're living in a world where the power of a single voice can echo across continents, sparking movements and inciting change. This is not a call to arms, but a call to hearts and minds. It is a plea for understanding and for empathy. It's a call to stand up against injustice. One of the most effective ways to combat this issue is by supporting organizations that advocate for religious freedom. These organizations work tirelessly, often in challenging conditions, to ensure that everyone, regardless of their beliefs, has the right to practice their religion without fear of persecution. Raising awareness about Christian persecution in the Gambia is another significant way to get involved. It's easy to overlook issues that seem distant or unrelated to one's daily life. But in our interconnected world, the struggles of one community are the struggles of us all. Share stories, articles, and documentaries like this one on your social media platforms. Engage in conversations with your friends, family, and colleagues about the issue. Even if you live outside the Gambia, in the diaspora, it's crucial to get involved. Call on your elected representatives to take a stand against religious persecution. Urge them to impose sanctions on nations that violate religious freedoms and to support legislation that promote freedom of belief and religion worldwide. Your voice can make a difference. Stand up for religious freedom and help end the persecution of Christians in the Gambia. The battle for religious freedom is far from over, but together we can make a difference. In the world we live in today, it's easy to take for granted the freedoms we enjoy, one of which is religious freedom. Yet, as we've explored in this documentary, there are places like the Gambia where this basic human right is under threat. It's a stark reminder that the struggle for religious liberty is a global issue, one that requires our collective attention and action. We've heard heart-wrenching stories of persecution, of individuals living in fear for simply practicing their faith. These stories are not just narratives, but lived experiences of our fellow human beings. They underscore the urgent need for action, for solidarity, for us to stand up and speak out for religious freedom. So what can we do? How can we make a difference? It begins with awareness. By educating ourselves about the issues and understanding the gravity of the situation, we are taking the first step towards change. It's about recognizing that every person, irrespective of their faith, has the right to practice their religion without fear of persecution. But awareness alone isn't enough. We need to take that knowledge and transform it into action. It could be as simple as sharing this documentary with your friends, family, and social network to spread the word about the plight of Christians in the Gambia. Or it could be as impactful as lobbying your local and national representatives to take a stance on religious persecution. Let's remember, every voice matters, every action counts. It's through our collective efforts that we can help to bring about change. We can contribute to a world where religious freedom is not a privilege, but a fundamental right enjoyed by all. The battle might be uphill, and the journey might be long. But remember, every great movement started with a single step. It started with someone deciding that they wouldn't stay silent, that they would stand up for what's right. Let's not turn a blind eye to the plight of Gambian Christians. Your voice, your action, can change lives. Stand up for religious freedom today. To help us create more free content, please subscribe to the channel and like and share this video. Thank you.